Alright, part 3 of the electric mountain bike project. Now, next thing we gotta work on is getting the seat installed on this frame. Now, we have to figure out exactly where this is gonna go. Now, the easiest way to do this would be to make some type of jig to hold this thing into place, as well as making it adjustable so that if we can get it in the exact position that we need it, so therefore we can figure out how we're connecting this to the frame. So on this frame, the seat is further forward relative to where the pedals are. It's about 1 inch forward, but on my mountain bike that I really like and feels way more comfortable than this mountain bike was, the seat is a little bit further back. So I'm going to put it to the... So I'm just going to go with the dimensions of the mountain bike that I like, because this one I didn't like. Alright, next thing is let's get the mount for the shock installed. Somehow we have to connect this to the frame. Yeah, this ArcDroid plasma cutter is amazing at cutting stuff like this. Alright, so these are helping strengthen the motor mounts, and because I was going to do tubing, you know, connecting this to up here, but I couldn't do that because the chain's running and there's no room for tubing, so I just decided to use plate steel. And we're probably done with this now. Alright, so obviously the battery is going to be going right here. I wish I could mount this thing lower, but this is the lowest that I could get because I couldn't go any lower with this because otherwise this would just hit the tire with the suspension fully collapsed, so I had to make enough room for that. So this is the lowest the battery can be mounted, unfortunately. I think it just looks really high because it's on a table. Once this thing's on the ground, it shouldn't look that high. But so we have to figure out how we're because obviously we're adding more tubing going from here up to here like a normal mountain bike, but we have to go over the battery, and I'm not sure if we should just go parallel with the battery and just a little bit higher so we can add cushion and everything, or just go a little bit higher and then have a little bit of room for maybe wires or electronics or something, and just connect the frame going from here to there. Something like that. We're also going to have it the same width as the battery on this section and then curve it back in, meeting it back here. So yeah, let's work on the top section of the frame, and then the frame's pretty much done after that. It's a little sketchy welding right above the battery, but so we really need to add a piece of paneling right here for the battery to rest against. So I should use aluminum, because that's the lightest way to do it. So let me add some tabs on the top and bottom, so therefore we can bolt a piece of aluminum on here, and then we can use more of this cushion to kind of hold this battery in place. It's a little sketchy because this thing's not really being held down by anything, but alright, so unfortunately we're running into some issues mounting the controller. Now I was going to put the controller right here. There kind of seems like a perfect spot for it, and I was just about to start working on the mounts to mount this thing here, but then I realized, like, hang on, wait a minute. Yeah, if we did mount the controller here, this front tire is definitely going to hit this. This has 6 inches of suspension travel in the front, and this is It's like 4.5 inches in between the tire and this. So unfortunately, yeah, we can't mount the controller there because the front tire would hit this. So we have two options. Option A is just slapping the controller right up here and just mounting it up there. Now that's not the end of the world. It's just this frame already looks ugly, and I feel like if we mounted the controller up here, it'd be even uglier. But as well as I don't want the controller in between my legs, but it's not the end of the world if we have to put it up there. Or I think the better option is to mount it right here. Now, unfortunately, to be able to do that, we have to redo some stuff right here. Basically, this piece of aluminum that we just finished putting right there, we have to cut it out because it's now in the way, and we have to make a new one that is further forward, about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. And unfortunately, we can't just scoot it forward because the frame's tapered and everything, so we have to make a new one. We maybe can reuse these mounts, but now these studs are in the way of the controller, so we have to figure out a different way to mount this aluminum. As well as the hard part is we have to redo the mounts for the shock because I basically need this whole section right here empty and nothing, because the controller has to go there. So we can put it here. I think it's going to be a lot better to put it here, but it means that we have to redo some stuff, which is a bit unfortunate. I wish I thought of this before installing this, but it's not the end of the world to have to redo some stuff. It's just it's a little annoying, but I think it's going to be a lot better. It's going to be a lot better to mount this thing right here. Yeah, my new favorite thing are rivet nuts. These things are awesome. Alright, moment of truth. See if this thing fits in here. Look at that! Nice! This thing just fits in here. Alright, so the frame is now finally finished. There's a couple more things I need to do here and there. Add a panel underneath here, as well as maybe add a panel. But we can do that once it's disassembled. I was considering adding a bit of cross bracing in here somehow to kind of strengthen this up, but it's a bicycle. I don't think it needs that. I think it's strong enough. So let's start working on disassembling this whole thing. Weld the whole frame together and then reassemble it, then we can start working on wiring. Here's my Harbor Freight scale. I am curious how much this thing weighs. £18. Yeah, it's a bit overweight, but you know what? It's electric. I'm not concerned about it being heavier. It's now an electric mountain bike instead of just a mountain bike. 18 pounds? Wow. I don't know. I'm not sure what I was expecting either. This is to keep this thing from warping in and out, hopefully. So I had a feeling that once I welded this thing together that this tube would either warp or some of the weld would poke through a little bit because it's a little bit thin, and yeah, you can kind of see in there's some spots where the weld kind of poked through, and now the seat post doesn't really want to fit in here. It's really stuck. I could probably force it, but I don't want to do that because then it's like good luck getting it out. So I have an idea on maybe how we can fix this. Let's try it. Alright, let's see if this works. Whoops. Let me put a lot more on there. Wow. Oh, wow, that's hot. Oh, wow. What I don't want to be the case is it's heating up and expanding, therefore it's like I think it's working, and then once it cools down it'll shrink and this thing will be stuck in here forever. So, because it is working, I'm not sure if it's working because of the sandpaper or because it's heating up. I don't know, because it's insanely hot. Alright, so it's still a bit tight, but I'm able to at least get it down there. You do have to muscle it to get it to go down. So, it does work, it does fit in there now, but you do really have to muscle it to move it up and down. Alright, let's start reassembling this thing. Man, this thing's kind of ugly, isn't it? Alright, suspension still seems to work. This frame is, it's a bit ugly, I'll admit, but hopefully it'll look better once everything's installed. Now, before I do anything, before I start putting the motor in, putting the battery in, I really need to fix the brakes. The brakes kind of work, but they have, like, not that much pressure. If you lean the bike over for a little bit, they lose pressure, and then you have to, like, pump them a bunch to build pressure back up. So, and with how fast this thing's gonna be going, we really need good brakes. So I'm gonna take this to a local bike shop, have them replace the brake pads and bleed the brakes. I was gonna do it myself, but I hate brakes. I hate bleeding brakes, and apparently bicycle brakes are the worst. So I'm just gonna pay somebody else to do it. As well as, I just noticed this. Oh, this is the max turning radius that this thing can have. I didn't think of that with having the frame lower right here. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Oh well. Is this frame ugly? Is this ugly? It's a little strange. This doesn't help. This isn't bad. This doesn't help with the look of this thing. It looks hunchback, but I don't know. I had to make it this big to be able to fit the giant battery that we have, so it's gonna look a little strange. So now I did take this to a local bike shop to see if they can bleed the brakes, because it'd be nice if I didn't have to bleed the brakes myself. He said that they can do that, as well as get new brake pads, but he's like, it'll be done middle of next week. And I was like, I really don't want to wait that long. So I just bought from them, I bought new brake pads as well as brake fluid. I bought the mineral brake fluid or whatever it is, as well as on Amazon I bought the brake bleeder kit. So I'll do it myself. It'd be really nice if I didn't have to do it. I hate bleeding brakes, and apparently on mountain bikes it's even worse. It's a little more finicky. But I think it's better than waiting 4 or 5 days for somebody else to do it. Now, as much as I'd love to get this thing finished and working in this video, we're going to have to save that for the next video because we still have a lot of stuff we got to do. And we need to figure out how enclosed do we want the battery. I do want to add another piece of paneling on the bottoms, therefore the bottom and the back of the battery is resting on that foam stuff that I have, but is that enough? And just put the battery here, kind of put straps around it so it doesn't fall out. Or what we could do is add side paneling on here as well as paneling on the top and kind of surround this thing in that foam. That would kind of be a little bit better, but it's the battery would be more enclosed, so I guess it would be better for the battery. We gotta figure out how enclosed are we making the battery case. So, as well as still gotta get the controller installed, get the motor installed, hook up the chains, the pedals, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, guess that's it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see you in the next video.